glass with the water.
I guess. Right, cross me along and orange.
It's totally up to you. Just honestly, it's supposed to be just like a chill, like friends talking type thing, right? Okay. So,
Howdy.
Hannah,
Yes.
thank you for being on. And for those of you who don't know her, introduce yourself really quick.
I am Hannah Dimmitt. I am a photographer. I do portraits, products, creative direct. I have a studio owner, and I am figuring everything out as I go.
She does a lot, right?
Something like that.
And so, first of all, how did you get started into this space?
I started photographing as a child, and I never really put the camera down. So I used to photograph crayons and like flowers and bugs, and like I said, I've never put it down. So in high school, people's parents started paying me. That light bulb went off, and I was like, I can do this full time. And I've been pursuing it ever since.
That's awesome. So you just like, was there something that inspired you as a kid? Or did you literally just want to take photos of stuff, just instinctually?
Yeah, I just had a little point and shoot, and I would actually go, so I would go to Home Depot with my dad, and I would get the free paint samples, and then I would lay them out and match Crayola crowns to them, and then like macro shoot with the little digicam and do really artsy, creative photos of crayons with matching paint samples and make it all a vibe. And that's like really what my family says and what I say was like the intro into everything. Just like little kid Hannah playing, like that was my toy, like that's what I did for fun.
That's what you're saying. So you pretty much started off with product shooting.
Yeah.
So you said then people in high school started asking you to take photos of them for, what was it, graduations or just?
Yeah, so I did a lot of what I called mom work. So I did family, seniors, babies, and in high school is what kind of kick-started that into that mom world. I actually had a business called Peachy Photography. And so families, babies, seniors, like I said, people's parents were paying me. That is what I did. I actually got a job at a portrait studio in high school as well.
Oh, wow.
Did that for a while.
Doing photography for them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked at 3 different live touch portrait studios, which was really amazing. I learned a lot about like flow posing and just lifelong things that were kind of silly at the time at a portrait studio, but things I'll carry with me forever. And there's like a big turning point in my career. I don't know if we're going to get into that or what the next question was.
Go for it.
But I broke my wrist in 2019.
Oh my gosh.
It was a car accident. It was not my fault. My car was totaled.
I'm so sorry.
It was really strange. At the time, it was really life crushing. Is that the right word? Life crushing?
Sure.
Dream crushing? I don't know. But I was just holding my wrist at the sign. I was like, I'm a photographer. Like, that was all I was worried about. And even in the ambulance and on the way to the hospital, I'm just like, this is my dominant wrist. I have a metal plate and like 9 screws in my wrist now.
Oh my gosh.
It's all healed up. But during that healing time, I was writing with my left hand really messy, like dreaming, making notes of my business, my goals. And I knew that when I healed, I was no longer going to do mom photography. I was going to focus on what was like feeding my soul. So while I was doing mom photography, I would go with friends and dress them up. I would thrift, I would style, I would do all the like for fun photo shoots. There's the creative shoots, like so especially in that early 2017, 18 times, like the photo meetups were really popping. Like it was very creative, community driven. And so that's what I did. But with the broken wrist, I was like, I'm gonna make my creative work my income. Like I'm only going to accept stuff that feeds my soul. And that's what I did. But that's a whole other long story of like how that worked itself out. But yeah, it's been a really wild journey.
No, that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I was just talking to my friend Olavia, actually, about the community. Yeah, back in like 2017. Was like really big and tight and like...
It was.
Yeah, and like... So, how would you compare today's scene to back then?
I think it's picking up. I think COVID interrupted a lot of the momentum and the flow, because with a lot of creative things, I think momentum is so important because everybody's together and they're excited for the next one and then the next one, and it just builds and there's energy. I think COVID really did pause a lot of that. So now in 2023, I think it's really on the cusp and on the brink of being something really big, really exciting and huge, really, for Dallas and for everywhere.
Yeah, and so how did everything through COVID affect you personally as a photographer? Because I know you said in 2019, that's when you started trying to revamp yourself, but then immediately, like the year after,
Exactly.
it felt like the world came to a stop.
So before COVID officially hit, in my intro from switching to mom photography to creative stuff that that feeds my soul. I was doing like mini shoots, but I was making them themed. So I was doing like 80s glamour shots, and you could like book a mini session and I'll dress you up in 80s attire. I had like the neon laser backdrop, and I would do that, or I would do other concepts similar to that. But when COVID hit, I was just like, I can't go anywhere. Portraits were so slow. Like, it was a huge freeze. My favorite place in the world is Sprouts. I love a grocery store. I love markets. I love health food stores. Like, that is it for me. So when I'm sad, I go to Sprouts and I get raspberries and chocolate and whatever. I was going through the aisles of Sprouts, and there's some really cool brands and companies and like logos and design. I grabbed a few cans of Poppy. It's a local soda. It's actually based here in Dallas. It's Poppi. It's fermented, bubbly, like it's good for you, like bubbly drink. Yeah. Did some mock product shoots for that and posted them and started pretending I was doing product photography. And then people started emailing me and shipping me product. And I then was doing product photography remotely from the comfort of my own home in my pajamas. And that kept me going through COVID. And then after that, I was able, like, after I was, I guess after COVID, whatever that means, during that transition period, I started getting into like lifestyle product shoots and blending what is my like creative work with product photography and kind of creating a new version of it where it wasn't just the product on a solid background. It was like you breathe life into it, you create these scenes, and it's product photography, but it's relatable. Like, you see it on an Instagram feed and you want to follow that brand and that account because of their aesthetic photos selling their product. Like, that's what I love to do. But that's what how COVID affected me, was like pushed me into something like as low and like as badly, I guess, as that time affected me and everybody else. It was also just this growing period, I think, for me and a lot of people. I hear so many stories of things being birthed in that time for everybody who was just home. I don't know, when you're stagnant, like your brain is like, what do I do? Like, what am I gonna do? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're deep in a hole and and you had to like find a way out, and
exactly
where you ended up.
Exactly.
It's crazy how like you literally start off as a kid with product photography, and then
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
that's at your lowest point.
Wild.
So how do you think having that extra product photography skills helped you then with like portrait photography and stuff again?
I think just blending them has been like the most exciting part.
Yeah.
Hi. I just lost my train of thought. I think so. I've always considered everything as puzzle pieces, and so I really truly think that all shoots have moving parts, and so I really like puzzle piecing things together. So if it's the product and their brand colors are this, and then this is the model and their style and the backdrop and then the location, and all these puzzle pieces go together. So I think product photography for me has been added to my portrait photography as like a puzzle piece rather than product photography like helping my portrait photography.
Yeah.
I don't know if that Englished correctly.
No, you're good. Yeah, I totally get what you mean.
Okay.
That's awesome that it's become a blend for you and stuff. And
crazy. Thank you.
Like, and obviously it's reflected in your work. Like, your stuff is just amazing. Like, not just the composition, just beautiful stuff, but you really highlight the products, but then also get the personality from the models and like, just, I don't know,
Thank
the vibes.
You so much.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer that I only accept work that excites me because I think it's reflected in that work. And so if something's not a right fit, I'm so happy to pass it on to a photographer that would do it better or like have more fun with it, or something that's meant for them if it's not meant for me. So then the work that I do take on, I truly think is meant for me. And I, like you said, I hope that reflects in the work itself.
Yeah. And so for things that'll excite you, do you have any like dream collaborations or like dream things that you want to work on right now?
I think I have a spreadsheet with like clients that I've been meaning to email.
Oh.
But as far as like, I don't know, I need to pitch myself more often than I do, but I let the universe do its thing. And I, like, usually all my clients email me first. And so that's a really exciting thing because then I get the email, it's an intro into that brand. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they want to work with me. This is crazy. We hop on a call and it's just this synergy that I think is meant to be, rather than me trying to like pursue a client, them not knowing who I am and being iffy about me, and then like I also need to put myself out there more, so it's a balance.
No, yeah, 100%. And so you've been obviously in the game for so long. Did you go through periods where you had to like, you got burnt out and you had to take a break from photography? Or like, how did all that work? Because even during COVID and stuff,
Yeah.
shooting still.
Yeah. It's really strange to think about. I think photography has been like the one thing I've been consistent with. I'm not a consistent person. I am all over the place. I like to dabble in new things, but I just never put the camera down. Like there are times where I am burnt out and I'm very much so an introverted extrovert and an extroverted introvert, and I need a lot of recharge time. And so I think with that balance of working and that recharge time that I allow myself the space that I need to still create. And if I need to accept less like creative collaborations, I will. At one point I was really going and just creating, and I was like, wow, I need to slow down, maybe take on less personal projects. But if I do a personal project, put my all into it, like build a team that's gonna absolutely kill it. I want everybody to be excited about it. It's just balance, really, lots of balance and lots of recharging.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. And like, obviously, for you to be able to like maintain that stuff, you obviously love what you do. So
Yes.
whenever you're doing a shoot or anything, is there a certain thought process you have of like what you're trying to capture? Like, what does photography, I guess, mean to you?
Photography mean to me? So I don't know if this is a way of indirectly answering, but a lot of the times when I'm shooting, it's a flow state for me. And so I even tell my clients and I tell the people I'm working with, we're just gonna warm up, we take a few test shots, and then I'm completely in the zone. It's the synergy of me and the camera and the people around me, and I'm in go mode and I am flowing much like an artist with a paintbrush, just in that flow state, I feel like. And I do let my clients know that too, because some photographers will work perfectly with a shot list and they'll map everything out and it's so strategic. And I wish I could do that, but I can work off of like a loose shot list, like, hey, we need these, and I'll throw in some bonus shots, and I'm like in the flow state, and so I'm just working and creating. And I guess, yeah, that is a good answer. Like, that is what photography is to me, is like a flow state. Like, it's the camera is an extension of me, and I get to bring these things to life.
Yeah, it's literally just an outpouring on whatever creative ideas you have at the moment.
Yes.
So, do you have like any inspirations then for all of this, or did all of this just kind of come just naturally out from you?
I think just life all around me. I used to take a lot of inspiration from vintage magazines and really want to like mimic those colors and those tones. And so I love a good like tone curve. I'll like play with the green, and I've heard a lot of photographers are scared of like the green tone curve. I love greens, and I'll just like add it to that shadows to give it like that vintage look, or the gray. And there's photographers, there's Pinterest. Like, I'm inspired, I guess, by everything. I love a harsh flash. I love following brands and seeing what they're putting out, because it's like to think about a brand and their Instagram and their website, and to look at it as if like a consumer, but then also as a creative, and then as a photographer, and see what their audience is and what they're trying to achieve. Like, that inspires me as well, because I love the world of branding and how people are advertising themselves without just being like, here's my product, buy it.
Yes, that's awesome. So I guess, are there specific brands, companies, or photographers that you really look for inspiration from usually, or is it just kind of anyone that pops up?
I think it's anyone, really. Yeah. I think I have some saved tabs and websites on my computer, but I'm not my memory retention of things is not always, like, I will watch a full film and love it and then not be able to regurgitate what the film was about to somebody. It's very much so just like, I just intake everything and then use it how I need to. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just sound so chaotic, but that's the process. It's a very chaotic process, and it's all in here, and then it's all moving around and just outforce when it needs to.
No, I mean, that's awesome, because you don't always need structure. Like, creativity does have to be a checklist of things to be like, I like this exactly because of this, so I want to recreate this myself. It's just whatever, I guess in this case, gives you inspiration.
Exactly, yeah.
So how did you end up like with your studio and everything? Like, what inspired Funky Fun Studios?
So I was booking studios pretty much weekly for product photos and portraits and things, and I used Peerspace a lot, and then would make boards, and you can actually send boards to clients and they can pick the location. And so let's say they have a vibe in mind, I'll pick 4 or 5 locations I think would be perfect. They can look through that list and kind of select the location. We would book it and we would do what we needed to do at that location. That being said, I've been itching for my own spot. It was like really time, and I took everything I loved about studios and poured it into Funky Fun. And one thing I noticed is there was a lot of studios that allow you to move furniture around and make it yours, and they have the rolling walls, but they all were very similar and had a very like peaceful, calm like theme. I always say it's boring, but like that didn't come from me. Yeah, like green velvet couch and plants, which is great, but like, or you have the retro room, which is in Dallas, and it's a 70s themed loft, but you have to shoot 70s there. Like that is the vibe. So I wanted to create something that was shiftable, movable, a blank canvas. You can make it yours, but you still have access to these funky props and things to help you be creative, and corded phones and furry walls and things. But if you don't want to shoot with it, you don't have to, and you could roll out a blank white seamless paper canvas and create what you need to as well here.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Thanks.
Like, because like, I'll probably show some B-roll in a bit, but like every single set is just so like interesting and different, and I just love that. Like, plus the space also just has if the space itself is very neutral with like the white walls, the concrete, and all that.
Thank you so much.
It's just so versatile because of that, and so absolutely love that. And I guess why I guess funky themed stuff, I guess, though. Like, what drew you to that as opposed to like any other?
It's just me, like it felt right.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be super groovy because I didn't want people to think they couldn't shoot here if they don't like groovy things or that's not their aesthetic. And so I think I was just scribbling names out, and Funky Fun was born, and that was it. And it's just funky. Like, it's just funky. That's me. That's the studio. Like,
Yeah.
I want people to get funky, have fun at the studio, and be creative, and like, yeah.
That's awesome. And honestly, I feel like it's also reflected in your own style too.
Thank you.
Where it's like not necessarily like one specific thing where it's like 70s or retro.
Exactly.
It's like a mix of all of these things.
Yes.
And I just love that. It's like really refreshing.
Thank you.
And
I want to limit myself or anybody, like no 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, or modern. Like let's just do all of it. Like let's have all of it.
yeah, 100%. And so I guess segue into, do you have any fears when it comes to like when it comes to like the industry and stuff and what you do?
I'm chaotic and don't think about it because I will freak myself out if I like sit with fears, and like I just have to keep going. Like thinking about that, I'm like want to disassociate, but I don't, like I probably should be a normal human and like think about things and prepare for them, but I can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah. Okay. And then I guess what are you working towards then? What are your hopes for the time being then?
I need to plan a grand opening for Funky Fun, so I'm still working on branding and website. I've had a soft opening and I've had some events, but I want to add some gallery, like art and walls and like really framed pictures that were taken at the studio to the front. There's some other things. I need to finish my office. My sister just built my desk. I just grouted the floors, but it's not finished yet. So I told myself I can't plan a grand opening until my office is finished.
Yeah.
And so it's like the one thing I'm really, really working towards is having that grand opening, and then having this being a living, breathing, beautiful, growing, thriving thing is Funky Fun. Like I want this to be the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. And I guess what would your hopes be for the Dallas creative community?
My hopes for the Dallas creative community, I just hope it thrives. Like there's so many, like we've talked about earlier, not on camera, but we were talking about the different pockets of creatives. I want all of that to kind of intermingle and mesh, and really, like I want the creative communities to find out about the other creative communities and then the other ones, and just have it be this intermingling, living, breathing, thriving thing here and elsewhere. Like I want other studios to be really involved and have their creative communities, and just this collaborative, to say again, living, breathing thing, like all together.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, is there anything else you would want to say to the camera? Any like exciting projects coming up, or things that you really need to know about?
Yes, but I've signed a few NDAs, so you'll hear about it later.
Exciting. Oh,
Yes,
she's
thank
a
you.
businesswoman.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So cool.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, that was good. That was good.